The Other Daughter, Chapter 18. I Am the Affair Baby. That's right, the living, breathing reminder of every scandalous headline and whispered judgment. When I walked into the wedding with Ezra on my arm, the entire room froze. Every pair of eyes turned to us, stunned. For a brief moment, we stole the spotlight from the bride and groom. We were late. Shopping for my dress, getting my makeup done, and styling my hair had taken longer than expected. By the time we arrived, the ceremony was over, and the bride and groom were off changing outfits for the reception to begin. Ezra, unbothered by the stares, guided me through the room with quiet confidence. His hand rested lightly on the small of my back, steady and reassuring. Whispers followed us like a ripple in still water. Is that Andrew's ex? With his uncle? Isn't that the bride's sister? Joseph, Andrew's father, glared darkly at his younger brother, but Ezra was completely unfazed. He calmly took a seat and, with exaggerated politeness, served me food from the dishes on the table. I avoided looking at my family's table. I knew their expressions would be priceless, and I didn't trust myself not to burst out laughing if I saw them. The newlyweds began their table-to-table toasts, starting with the head table. When Andrew saw me, his entire body went rigid, like he'd forgotten how to move. Bella, all smiles as she'd been talking with Andrew's parents, turned to see me and froze in place. Her jaw dropped so wide, you could have fit an egg in her mouth. Ezra grinned pleasantly. Ah, so this is the new niece-in-law. Lovely, lovely, he said with mock enthusiasm, waiting expectantly for her to address him as family. Her face stiffened as she forced out a stiff, begrudging uncle before turning to leave. Wait a moment, niece-in-law, Ezra called out cheerfully. We're not done here. You haven't completed the introductions. Caught under the weight of the crowd stares, Bella froze mid-step. I stayed seated, calm and collected, as I reached into my clutch and pulled out a small gift tip. Holding it by one corner, I dangled it in the air, my lips curling into a faint smile as I looked directly at her. The tension was so thick it could be cut with a knife. My arms started to ache from holding the gift up as the silence stretched on. Finally, realizing she couldn't escape, Bella muttered through gritted teeth, "What do you want me to say?" Ezra threw an arm around my shoulder, his expression warm and indulgent. "Oh, silly girl, you're supposed to call her Aunt Alice. Your aunt has even prepared a special gift for you, a little token of appreciation for welcoming you into the family. We're all family now, aren't we?" Andrew, visibly uncomfortable, started to speak. But Ezra cut him off with a sharp glance. "This is a family matter, Andrew," Ezra said coolly. "Traditions are traditions, and this is about welcoming our new niece-in-law by introducing her to everyone in the family." I knew my presence here was deeply humiliating for Andrew, but he had chosen to walk away from me. He had no right to dictate my life now. As the couple stood there, visibly uncomfortable, a guest seated nearby chimed in, their tone light, but laden with curiosity. "Wow, Andrew, you keep it in the family, huh?" On a day like this, the bride couldn't risk a public meltdown in front of all her guests. Grinding her teeth, Bella finally hissed out, "Aunt Alice." Satisfied, I let out a light, amused, "Ah, yes," before finally placing the gift into her outstretched hand. Before the reception ended, Ezra and I slipped out. Trying not to laugh during the banquet had been excruciating, and staying any longer might have made us double over in hysterics. As soon as we got into his car, I burst out laughing. Did you see my dad and Delilah's faces? They looked like they'd swallowed a truckload of lemons. And when that clueless guest asked how they were going to explain one daughter marrying the uncle and the other marrying the nephew, I thought Delilah was going to flip the table. Ezra chuckled, watching me with an amused smile. "Well, you seem to enjoy yourself. But you didn't eat much, did you? I know a great little restaurant nearby. Let's grab some real food." The restaurant he brought me to was a cozy place with some of the most creative and delicious dishes I'd ever tasted. Each plate was so good I wanted to lick it clean. For the first time since coming back to this city, I felt completely at ease. I didn't have to fake a single thing. No pretending. No guarding my words. No second-guessing someone else's intentions. For once, I could just be myself. As I sipped on their signature plum wine, I listened to Ezra tell stories about his travels abroad, his childhood, and his family. His parents had doted on him endlessly, spoiling him beyond belief until they passed away when he was 8. After that, his older brother and sister-in-law raised him as their own. He laughed, recounting how he and Andrew used to fight for attention. I'd bully him constantly, and my brother and sister-in-law would scold him for not showing respect. "That's your uncle," they'd say, as if that made it any better. His stories made me laugh so hard I teared up. Then, through those tears, I whispered, I had a brother. His name was Jamie. For 8 years, I hadn't mentioned Jamie to anyone. Not even when I was with Andrew. Jamie was a scar etched deep into my soul, one that bled fresh pain every time it was touched. I don't know how much I drank that night or how many jumbled memories I shared with Ezra about Jamie, but for the first time, I allowed myself to let the grief out. I only remember the final moments. Slumped over the table, one hand clutching tightly at Ezra's sleeve, the other weakly pointing at the empty air in front of me. The people who caused his death, one by one, I'll make sure they pay.